I'm Deanna Sidoti, a yoga for back care and scoliosis specialist, and today we'll explore how to create length and decompress in the presence of asymmetry. So if you have scoliosis, it's okay if you don't know what your curves are, but if you do know what your curves are, you'll bring your curve leg back first, and then you'll bring your concavity leg back second. So I have a left lumbar curve or thoracolumbar curve and a high right thoracic curve. Whenever I'm talking about the arms, I'm talking about the thoracic curve. But in this case today, we're talking about the legs, so we're relating that to your lumbar curve. So in this high lunge variation, my feet are on two separate tracks, and I'm taking my curve leg back first. So if you have a left lumbar curve, you'll bring your left leg back first. If you have a right lumbar curve, you'll bring your right leg back first. Then you'll reach your hands up and check out my back heel. So instead of sinking, I'm lifting the heel up. My feet are on opposite sides of the midline. So if you have a line down your mat, feet are on two railroad tracks instead of a tightrope. And then instead of sinking, I'm going to square the hips, hug the outer ankle of the back foot in, so I'm not flopping the ankle to the side. And then lengthen your lumbar. So instead of compressing and sinking, lift the back heel, lift the inner thigh of the back leg, hug the outer ankle in, and walk those hands up on a diagonal away from the back foot. So you can even pause and look and record yourself or use a mirror and see if your stance is long enough so that you can be on a diagonal instead of back here. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And with your curve leg back, it's easy to want to sink into your curve. So I'm going to just hug my curve into the midline a little bit and then go up and lengthen. 2 more breaths. It's okay if things are feeling shaky. It's okay if you feel like you're working. That's the idea. And then you'll gently and slowly release, push the block into the wall, parallel your feet. And then when you switch sides, you'll take your concavity leg back. So for me, my right leg is my concavity leg. And instead of letting the heel be up this time, which pushes me further into my concavity, watch what happens in my low back. My heel comes down and my low back starts to fill up, especially if I'm reaching the bones of the hip and leg down through the outer edge of the foot. So try that. Feel what it's like to sink and then press through the outer edge of the foot and lengthen forward. So this is not passive. This is a conscious action. Connect your legs to your hip sockets like a plug and an outlet. Lengthen your lumbar. Imagine making a space between 2 vertebrae in your lumbar. And if you're starting to shake and you're walking your hands up really high, that's it. If you're looking at your hands, that means you're probably crunching your neck. So see if you can keep your chin in, let your ears rise, and keep lengthening the ribcage away from the back foot. 1 more breath. And then release. Press the block into the wall, parallel your feet, and come out. So there's a little trick that I want to share with you. If you touch your low back and see if you can find one of those little sticky outy bones, we call those the spinous processes, you'll connect to your legs, make a space above and below where you're touching. So instead of sinking into your habitual compressed pattern, if you have one, you're going to create a space and lengthen. Another thing that really helps is to grab your ears, lift your toes, block between the legs, bend your knees a little, and make a space in your lumbar. Lift your crown and make sure the back of your head is in line with the back of the pelvis. It's easy to want to push the head forward. And just for 1 more breath, touch that space in your low back or one spot in your low back, make a space there, and then compress and sink, and then make a space. And then you can try that pose again and see if it's different. But for now, we'll move on to this next part. So in Parshvottanasana, same idea. When the curve leg is back, so for me that's my left leg, my heel is going to be pressing into the wall, And instead of rounding my back, which is spinal flexion, I'm going to tilt the pelvis and lift my sit bones up. So that's pelvic flexion. So I'm keeping my spine neutral instead of over rounding. Reach the chest forward. And just like we did before, when the curved leg is back, you're going to hug the curve in and lengthen your lumbar. Draw your concavity leg hip back. And now it's easy here to want to lock in the knees, which disconnects you from your legs. So some of you have seen my knee cup video before. Do your knee cup. Push your knee and hand into each other to activate the legs. So it's equal opposite action. And then reach, reach, reach. You should start to feel the muscles of your legs engaging. Many places may engage, so I'm not going to micromanage which muscles are working, but I'm not pulling behind the knee. The knee is active. Back of the knee to the front of the knee, and then you can go forward. So if you want to use a mirror or record yourself with your phone to see what's actually happening in your back, you might be surprised. Try lifting your sit bone up with your hand so that you know where you're initiating the action. When you're ready to come out, bend the knee, step back without rounding, feet together, come on up. And then we'll switch. So hands to chair. Concavity leg back. For me, that's my right leg. Back toes are turning out about 30 degrees. Feet are on two separate railroad tracks, opposite sides of the midline. I'm going to take my hand to my left sit bone and lift my sit bone up so I know I'm not rounding and doing spinal flexion. I'm lifting my chest and then tilting from the sit bone and the pelvis. Now on this side, when my concavity leg is back, my concavity likes to sink. So I'm going to press the bones of the back leg and hip down through the outer edge of the foot and try to fill my concavity. So it's not about how far down my chest can go. I'm actually going forward with my chest, and it's like I'm ripping the mat apart with my feet. Front foot, big toe presses forward. Back foot, outer edge presses back. Reach the heel into the wall. If you hyperextend or lock your knee or have joint laxity, which is very common for people with scoliosis, press your knee into your hand for a few seconds and resist equal opposite action until you feel your legs engaging. It's okay if things are shaking. 3 breaths. Exit slowly, hands to chair, bring your front foot back, bring your back foot forward, hands to hips, and stand up. And to end today, we'll come into chair shavasana. So you'll just come to sit with your back close to the chair, slide across the edge of your mat. Once your spine is stable or your side body is stable, then you'll roll to your back. And sometimes we pad the curves, sometimes we pad the concavities. Today I'm going to invite you to just be here and sense the back of your body. And you can review my curve padding video if you like on another day or in another moment. Let's end today with 5 deep breaths, any way you like. Allowing tension to be released. Any accumulated tension in the body, release it through your exhale. Knee creases at the chair edge, let the legs relax. And if your chin is pushing to the ceiling, bring your chin down or put a blanket under your head and neck. Let the skin of the face soften. Let the shoulders melt. Give yourself a moment of just allowing the front of the body to release towards the back of the body. I highly recommend staying for at least 10 minutes. But if you are heading into the rest of your day or evening, just slowly start to wiggle your toes and fingers. Deepen your breathing. Reach one arm alongside your ear and slowly roll to that side, fetal position. Use the strength of your arms to come to sit up on an elevated seat. Or you can just sit on your chair, your block, or your blanket. Honoring the light and goodness in each of us. Namaste.